all to the North Dakota Homeschool Podcast today. Joining me is Mandy Belmont. She works as the current Registrar at Trinity Bible College. And so I'm just going to let her introduce herself, and then we'll have some more questions for her about homeschool preparedness for college.
Yes. So, like you said, my name is Mandy Belmont. I am originally from Partyville, Wisconsin, and I was homeschooled from the point of my going into second grade all the way through, and so I graduated out of homeschool, and then I came to Ellendale, North Dakota to go to college at Trinity Bible College in graduate school. So I got to go, most of my experience is in homeschool, and a little bit was in public school. So it's an interesting, it's really interesting to compare the two, even now thinking back on it. But yeah, and then I graduated college and have worked various jobs, most of them at Trinity.
Awesome. Okay, so do you want to tell us just a little bit about what that process was like for you on the side of it as a homeschool student applying for colleges? I mean, I don't know how many colleges you applied to and stuff, but, and for, what did you do in that process?
Yeah, so I only applied to one because I was determined that this was the school for me. Like, okay. I felt like this was where God was calling me, and I was like, nope, I'm going to Trinity. That was it. And so I only applied to Trinity. It wasn't a hard process. Even when I was a freshman, there were quite a few other homeschoolers there.
Okay.
So Trinity has always been a very homeschool friendly school. I mean, I think I would go on a limb to say that most Bible colleges probably are.
Sure.
But yeah, I was very homeschool friendly. I was surrounded by other homeschoolers, which made me feel right at home right away. It was really funny just to be like surrounded by so many other people who I was like, hey, you were homeschooled? What curriculum did your parents do? So it was a neat connection point for a lot of students. And then for the students who weren't, it was never really an issue. So that was really nice. And then for the application process, I don't remember anything being terribly complicated. Granted, it's been a few years since I applied.
Do you remember what your mom used for a transcript, Mandy? If she used a service or if she made her own, or, I mean, if you don't remember, that's fine, but...
I think she used a template. I don't think she used a full-on service. And that's, I mean, it's funny because also working in the Registrar's office now, I see all the transcripts for everyone, whether you're coming in from high school or colleges. So there's a whole lot of different ones. Our recommendation, this may be just Trinity specific, but just to simplify things, one thing we've noticed with homeschool, and my parents did this too, is a lot of times they'll put really like cool names on the school, but they won't always identify it as homeschool, and that's prerogative, but that can be kind of confusing because then if there's any questions, most schools have websites, so if you try to go look up a school and you're like, this school doesn't exist because it was a really uniquely named homeschool, and it can be a little complicated. So the easiest thing for transcript is actually, at least for Trinity, you can name it whatever you want, but then just note homeschool.
Oh, okay.
Because then it's like, oh, okay, like this was a homeschooled school, totally fine. Then that already sets our expectation of, okay, we know exactly what's going on here. If we have any questions, we'll call the parent.
Okay.
As opposed to if there's any questions where like we're trying to call a school official and we're not sure who to call.
That's interesting because, a lot of times at different events or whatever, homeschoolers are encouraged to name their school, to give it a name. So that's why a lot of them are doing that, because it's just been part of something they've been recommended to do. A lot of them, maybe some of them haven't, but so you would recommend on the transcript, like we called ours Sand Academy. Sure. So just put Sand Academy and then in parentheses homeschool or underneath or something like that on the...
Yeah. Okay. I mean, as I said, that may be more of a Trinity prerogative than other schools, but for us, that just simplifies it right off the bat. Because then, like I said, because we often have questions, because we're like, not often, they come up on a regular basis on all transcripts, not just homeschool. Okay. But that just tells the officials, right, we're like, oh, okay, this is who I need to contact if I have any questions. And then the other thing we like to tell everyone too is, make sure you have a clearly printed graduation date. So it's really easy to see, okay, this is an official transcript, and then also sign it. Okay. So, like, if it's been, like, that date's really obvious, and then you've signed it, that is official. So you don't necessarily have to do, like, coming from a homeschool household, like that's fine. You don't have to go above and beyond and get like really fancy seals or imprints or anything. Like that's fine. We can accept those. But I think that's the one that we have to call parents on the most, because we're like, can you just sign that transcript?
Sure.
So just heads up, like if we know, like I said, if we know it's a homeschool, not a problem, we'll just call the parent and we're like, hey, could you just sign it, send that in, we'll be good.
Okay. So maybe you want to go through a few, if you have more, like do's and don'ts for transcripts and things that you really, like to see. What's the best way to organize them? Any of those types of things.
Yeah.
Tips for homeschool parents.
I mean, I can tell you what Trinity really appreciates. Using the 4.0 scale is really helpful. I know some transcripts organize it differently. So us just knowing, right, like, okay, like where do you fall on a 4.0 scale? So if you use a different scale, maybe just include both so that we're able to see like across, okay, this is how they did in these classes.
Okay.
Organize it. And I think this is pretty normal by year. So then we can see like how they're doing their freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year. And then if your student has done anything extra like an AP class, a CLEP test, or a dual enrolled class, those have to come from those locations. So whether it's a CLEP test, I think you can just have it sent straight to the school. In fact, you might be able to have it sent to multiple schools, or any dual enrolled credits. Those transcripts have to come directly from those places to make them official.
Okay.
But you can note them on the transcript that you did them. That clues in your enrollment counselor in the registrar's office that we're expecting those. Because we've had people later, we've had students who came and told us, they're like, I took this class for whether it's English or math, and we're like, okay, well, we need a transcript. We have absolutely no evidence without it, so we just need you to send it to us. And that's not a problem. It's usually really easy to work with after. So, but you can note that on your transcript so we're aware, like, okay, we should be expecting this. So especially when we're getting students pre-registered, we're aware those things should be coming. Okay. So, yeah.
Okay. So one thing that I did when I did my own transcript for Lily, she had taken some classes at Trinity, our oldest daughter, and Emma. So Betsy, my friend Betsy, had advised me to denote it with a star, like on the, so say it was in, I think they can start as a sophomore if they have a recommendation, taking dual credit classes. So starting that year, denote with a star, this class was taken at such and such, and then you would send that transcript or that record of that class separately. I mean, if she would have applied to Trinity, it would have been there. But, so would that be okay? An okay way to do it? Just mark it? Or even an AP class or anything like that, and then send those along with the signed transcript?
Yes, you might have to have them just send it directly.
Oh, okay.
That's the other thing with transcripts. So if a college transcript, if you took dual enrolled credit, and it gets sent to you and you open it, it's no longer official.
Oh.
So that's where you can often go online and just request it get sent directly to us. It's really nice. We've moved into a very digital age. I would say 98% of our transcripts are all digital now.
Okay.
But it's all coming to us as well as going from us. So it's all done through different transcript services that are like really secure. So, but those are all considered official. So those are easy to work with.
Okay.
So it would probably be easier to just have whether it's school or CLEP or AP, just send it directly to the school.
Okay.
Because then it's in an official format.
Okay. Great. So you've also worked in the financial part of getting students, helping them figure out how they're going to pay for college. So do you want to talk about that a little bit? Like what could homeschool parents do to really help their child get ahead in that area? Things that they can be ready for?
Absolutely. So I used to work in financial aid, and one of my favorite things to talk about was scholarships, because I had no clue. I don't know if I was told and I completely missed it as a high schooler, or if it just wasn't as prominent when I went to college. But I just had no clue that there are hundreds to thousands of scholarships that can be applied for every single year. And there's just so many opportunities. So that would be my big recommendation, is like look into that. Now, Trinity in specific has a lot of resources in this area. We have on our financial aid page, if you go to the bottom, We've got a ton of information on scholarships. I'm really proud of that information. I helped create a lot of it, and I helped to like gather that list because as I was working in that job, I started realizing there's so many places you can get scholarships from, and I was seeing scholarships come in from a lot of different places that I was like, I had no idea.
Sure.
And I wanted people to know because I'm like, this is really good. Like, this is such a key to helping you graduate either debt-free or with little to no debt. Sure. So that would be one of my big recommendations. Now, if you're like wondering, you're like, okay, well, how do we get started? So many different ways. If you're a North Dakota student in particular, we have a whole section on our website just for North Dakota specific because North Dakota has a lot of great resources. Now, they have... if you're a North Dakota student and you fill out the FAFSA, you automatically can get, at least in the running for the North Dakota State Grant. So that's not a scholarship, but the nice thing is you don't have to do anything else for it. Usually, for that one, there is another one. I was like, North Dakota State Grant one is usually pretty easy. It just gets triggered from your FAFSA. There's another one, and I think it's the academic scholarship. You might have to supply your transcript to them, but homeschoolers can get it. I looked that up. So there's like multiple layers of, those are grants, technically a scholarship, a state scholarship, but those are really nice, specific for North Dakota students. And then we have another, there's like, I think it's called the North Dakota Community Foundation. It's a really nice website with scholarships specific for North Dakotans. So that's a lot of great opportunities for students on that one. And that one, organize them by like anything from counties to towns. So, it's just wherever you were living. And a lot of it was agriculturally specific, naturally, very agricultural state. So it's not, it depends what you're going for. So if you're wanting to go into agriculture, there's tons of scholarships for that. If you're wanting to go into, something at a Bible college that doesn't offer agriculture, it's kind of a toss-up. But there's a couple scholarships where it's literally just someone from that county just wants to support students out of that county. And so those are the North Dakota specific ones. But then you also have a whole nother layer of their scholarship search engines online. So, for instance, there's Scholarship Owl, I want to say, and then there's one called FastWeb. They all kind of do the same thing. It's just you pick which one you like. And then FastWeb, like we talked about that one. I played around on that one a bit to try to get like a better idea. And that one has like over 1.5 million scholarships on it where it's overwhelming. But and then like over $1 billion in scholarship represented in that. Like, it's crazy. But the whole point of FastWeb is it's finding scholarships that are just out there, and then it's trying to find the ones tailored to you. So you put in information about yourself, and then it's like, you could apply for this and this. And so my thing I always told students was set yourself a goal because, like, 1.5 million scholarships is utterly overwhelming. Now, granted, it probably won't say you can apply for all of them. But even if you could apply for 1,000, that's a lot of scholarships. So my recommendation to students was always set yourself a goal, whether that's you're going to apply for 10 scholarships twice a week, or you're going to apply for as many scholarships as you can in an hour, or Thursdays are scholarship day, like just apply for scholarships. Making something that can be very overwhelming a lot more manageable. Because we have had students who got so many scholarships, they got money back.
Oh, wow.
So it is, it's quite impressive. Like, they can get a lot of you can get a lot of scholarships. Now, that's not super common, admittedly, but that's how a lot of our students who did graduate debt-free were able to do so, is because they applied for scholarships like crazy. So that's one of my big recommendations to students, just across the board, is like, start applying for scholarships, look for scholarships, and then whatever school you're going to, also, of course, look into their scholarship programs, because most schools have scholarships available. And I could tell you about Trinity's, but really it's just whatever school you're wanting to go to, like, look into those. And so there's potentially layers and layers and layers of scholarships. The thing not to do is to wait until like 2 months before you get to school and then try to apply. You can, and you may get a few, like, institutional ones, but I've had students do that too, and I'm just like, oh goodness gracious. It really, like take the stress off yourself and apply way earlier. Most scholarships, you're looking at least really getting it on a plan at least a year out. is what I would recommend, because you could start applying before that. But a lot of them are kind of specific to, like, you're going into college within the next year. I know, like, our presidential scholarship, they start submitting things early in the fall semester, and then it's the spring semester when they do, like, the final stuff. And that's another example of a good institutional scholarship you're going to want to be aware of, because scholarships like presidential scholarships are great. They cover huge portions of tuition. That just depends on the school.
Okay.
But yeah, the more time, you don't need to take, I had people who were going, like, sophomore high schoolers, and their parents were like, we need to start applying for scholarships. And I was like, it might be a little bit early for that.
Sure.
But, like, especially going into your senior year, if you have a plan to, like, just start applying for scholarships, because even if you get, like, you know, a small handful, I mean, that's wonderful. So, huge blessing.
A lot of times I find that there's community scholarships that are available to people, too. Yes. I know you sort of mentioned that, like, county-wise, there's certain things, and sometimes even within your own community, there's scholarships that are available to apply for through, like, the Veterans Associations or different things like that. So that's something to be aware of, which I think a lot of homeschoolers are aware of those things, but just in case they're not, those are there.
Yeah.
So basically you're saying that being prepared and planning ahead as far as saving money is probably the best plan.
Yeah.
So I think homeschoolers are usually pretty good at that, but it's always good to give them a heads up.
Yeah.
You know? Another thing that I think about sometimes is that a lot of times when homeschoolers are tailoring their education for their children, which is something that's really great to do when you are homeschooling, you might have a young man or a young woman who has decided early on they didn't want to go to college. And so maybe you didn't do all the higher maths because you were thinking, well, this child wants to go to trade school, or this child just wants to go into the workforce, or whatever the case may be. And then their senior year, they change their mind and they decide they want to go to college.
Sure.
How would you help somebody like that? Or, like, I know that some colleges have remedial classes then. If you didn't end up getting those things on your transcript, could you talk about that a little bit maybe?
Yeah, so I think most colleges have remedial classes like you mentioned. The other thing you can do is you can CLEP out of them. So you can take a CLEP test. So if you're a student who didn't necessarily take certain things, but you think you're like, I could take a test and show that I know enough of the content, I highly recommend it. CLEP tests are, I want to say, either around 100 or less than 100 versus a couple hundred you'd be paying for those credits. So if you do get to an area of content where you're like, I maybe didn't do a ton in this area, but I think I could test out of it. And you can look those up online. So, like, they're not going to give you the exact test questions, but you can get an idea of what they're looking for. Because really at that point, it's major content. Like, do you have a grasp of the major content in this area?
Okay.
You can test out of them, and then you don't have to worry about those classes at all. Or if you're like, I didn't really spend a lot of time here, I maybe will need that remedial class. That's absolutely fine too. That's what those classes are for. So, I don't think there's too much of an issue with that. But I mean, with any standardized test especially, and I know, like, that can be a hot button topic, but if you do take one, you can prep ahead of time. Like, whether you're taking an ACT, an SAT, or there's a whole bunch of other ones you can now look into. Those are just the most prominent. You can do a lot of, like, practice tests, and there's a lot of good information out there about, like, hey, this is what they're looking for. And so, once again, it's like that preparation. Like, you can really prepare yourself for it so that you can, when you go in, you'll be able to do well. I know for Trinity, a lot, not everything, but a lot is based on if you've done whether an SAT, ACT, like, that's going to help place you in the classes.
Okay.
Because it's showing, once again, like, content area. So those are just good things to keep in mind.
So another question I have kind of is, a homeschool child isn't going to have a class rank, obviously. And I know that that's part, something that colleges look at is class rank. So is the ACT or the CLT or the SAT more important for a homeschool student sometimes, just to give, they have their transcript that lists their grade point average. I mean, what are all the factors that you take into account when you're admitting a homeschool student?
Sure. So we're looking at, class rank is part of it, but I'll be honest, that has been a hot button topic in admissions in general for something that they may be doing away with.
Oh, really? Okay.
So I can't speak for all schools, but it has come up multiple times.
Okay.
Just because class rank is so subjective completely based on your district. Because some districts have like super, super high scoring students. So like you might be a mid-range student, but your whole district is like crazy smart. And then other districts, you might be a top ranked student, but you have much less academically inclined students, we'll put it that way. So they've acknowledged that like class rank is a bit subjective. So that's not a huge deal for us for sure. Once again, I can't speak for all schools, but we already are like, it is still technically something we look at, but it's not the final by any means, because so much is determined for students in school districts in general. It just kind of depends on your district. But the other thing, they're looking at GPAs.
Okay.
So they want to know how are you doing in your classes, and then it's one of the easiest things right now if you take an ACT, SAT, because then it shows general content knowledge, like how much you do know going in. I did an ACT, and so that was an exciting exciting time. I remember being so nervous, and I did fine. So that is a quick way to show that you have learned basic content. So that's one quick way to do it, but it's not the only way to do it, because depending on the school, they usually do have alternative ways if you have not done a standardized test like that. Like you mentioned another one. I know there's a couple different ones that are potentially coming up. So standardized tests just show that you have gained the general content knowledge in different areas that just, are you good? Do you need the remedial class in this? Basically trying to help determine if you will succeed and be successful.
Okay. Yes, one that's become kind of popular in homeschool circles is the CLT, the Classic Learning Test. And I know a lot of Christian colleges are accepting CLTs now, as well as ACTs and SATs. And then something else that I've noticed that some Christian colleges and colleges in general are going away from is even asking for an ACT, SAT, CLT, whatever the case may be, score. Yeah. And they're going more off of GPA and those types of things. So I found that kind of interesting. I don't know if Trinity is currently test optional. I think we've discussed this before, but...
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what Trinity's doing right now. They do have an option if you don't have an ACT or SAT.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one of those hot button topics in admissions. It has come up multiple times where it's interesting because it's not just homeschool families. It's just like the culture in general is questioning the validity of standardized tests like that. So it's a hot button topic, and I don't think we've officially moved away from it. But it has come up, so it'll probably keep coming up.
Yeah, I think the homeschool community, a lot of people in the homeschool community, myself included, just feel like a lot of times those tests don't show very well what a student can do and what they're capable of. And so it's been kind of an interesting topic to discuss with people. Sure. And some kids just really struggle with testing, and they get so much anxiety that it's an issue. However, testing is a part of college. You're going to have a lot of tests. And so I think general prep and readiness for that type of thing is needed. But I do agree that sometimes those tests don't show the potential of the student. So if you have a student that comes in with a low ACT, a low SAT, whatever the case may be, how do you guys respond to that? Maybe we already covered this, but like you're already looking at other factors, right?
Yeah, no, I can't speak to that entirely because that's more of coming out of our admissions office. Okay. I just know that there is a committee that will look at everything. Okay. So if a student either has low SAT, ACT, or other standardized test scores, or no test scores, there is a process in place to look into that. And so I know there's a committee that looks at it. They do try to evaluate because, we understand. Those test scores do show some information, but not the whole story. Sure. And so I know that they do their due diligence to try to help figure out, because it really comes down to, we really want the student to be successful.
Sure.
And so, whatever that looks like, we're trying to help the student succeed as much as anything. So we're like, okay, so we don't have this here. They look like they're struggled here, but they're really interested. Will this work for them? So we're trying to look at all of it as much as possible.
Right. So I think we could probably get close to wrapping this up, but I guess one of my last questions for you would be, what general advice would you have for homeschool students that are getting ready for college and parents who are also helping their kids prepare? I know we covered scholarships and different things like that, but if you just had anything else that you wanted to say about that, if you don't, that's okay too, but...
General advice. Man, That's a great question. The funny thing, I was thinking about this a little bit as I was prepping, and one of my favorite things to look back on from my undergrad years was I had one class in particular. It was a math class. And it was really hard, and I was not understanding how the professor was teaching. And so I remember very distinctly going back to my room and being like, I'm a homeschooler. I know how to do this without a regular teacher. And so I took the book and taught myself. Sure. And that's how I passed the class. And so I guess, don't forget where you came from, so to speak. Have the confidence to know, if you're not understanding, do ask questions. Your professors are there for you. And so, don't be afraid to ask questions, but also, you know how to learn. Probably better than most. So, go ahead and take that. Do what you gotta do.
Yeah, I would agree that homeschoolers generally are, able to learn things on their own and schedule their time, maybe, a little bit better than some. But if they do end up needing help, there are resources for them at most colleges. And I will probably cover this in a later podcast, but they do have at Trinity, what they call the Ask Lab, which is... help for people that may need tests read or different things like that.
Yeah. So that, the Ask Lab stands for the Academic Success Center. And so that one is for anything from test read to you want someone to proofread your paper, or you maybe just need some help on a different assignment. So we do have that. As you said, I'm sure most colleges do have something in place to help students. My recommendation in that area is basically, if you need help, get help. Don't worry about it. Don't let the fact that you're I should know this, oh, don't worry about it. Just go. That's what they're there for. Because I've definitely seen a handful of students who did not get the help they needed because it's they couldn't get over their pride on that area. And I'm just it's not worth it. Throw your pride to the side, because these people are here to help you. They're going to be gracious. They're going to be wonderful. And you will, they'll help you succeed if you'll, take that step. So definitely be willing to reach out if you have questions. One wonderful thing I think homeschooling just builds right in is they're really good at asking questions. They're used to it, and I'm do that. Keep asking questions. Be curious.
Sure. I think part of the reason why sometimes homeschool moms in general are worried about college is because they're concerned that they didn't get it all, that they didn't get it all taught, that there's going to be this huge gap in their child's education, or gaps, and I think it is a fear among a lot of homeschooling moms and dads, and we don't talk about it a lot.
Sure. Because
sometimes you feel like if you visit about other people with it, then you hear all the things that they're doing, and then you start comparing yourself.
All the guilt.
And I think that when homeschool parents are ready to send their kids to college, and I'm not going to speak for all homeschool parents, obviously, but that was a fear of mine. What if they don't do well? And so that was something that dual credit classes really helped me with, was to see that, hey, maybe I didn't do quite so bad. Because I thought I did, but it is nice to know that help is available, even if everybody has gaps in their education. It's not just going to be homeschool students that do. But maybe that's a good question, is how do homeschool students do generally at Trinity? I mean, do they do pretty well in general that you've noticed? Or, I mean, and if they do struggle, where are the areas that they struggle that maybe we could do a little bit better?
Oh, goodness. Oh, great questions. I would say we have a lot of homeschoolers. Trinity just has always had a lot of homeschoolers. I would say in general they do well because, for our school in particular, it's a small school. So it's an easier transition to go from, of course, being in your home to being at a small Christian school. So overall, I would say they do well. It's up to the student though. It really comes down to their determination. Like, what are they working towards, and how much do they want it? I mean, but that's true of any student across the board. But it's neat. I was chatting with one of our professors right now who was a student at the same time I was.
Oh, okay.
And we were chatting, and she made a comment about, she's like, well, I was homeschooled, so that's how I completed a class or something when she was in her undergrad. And I was like, yep, same. So, like, we now have professors who were homeschooled. So it's, success-wise, they're doing well, I think, in general. But like you said, too, like, there are gaps for everyone. No one's going to get this perfect, and definitely not the public school either.
Sure.
And that's okay. Like, really, it's, you do as much research as you can and try to prep as best you can, but that's life. And so it's totally fine.
Sure. Well, I just want to say thank you for joining me today, and I will... Let me know if you have any questions for Mandy. We can always do a follow-up episode. So, thanks for joining us.